Hi everyone! So today I'm doing my mom's makeup and I decided to film it because I haven't done her makeup in a really long time. So this is how I did it. I'm gonna have all the products and stuff on my blog, which will be linked down below. And if you want to see other looks that I've created or more looks of this particular makeup, then it'll be on my social media. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just starting off by priming her eyelids, and I've already primed her face with like the Makeup Forever smoothing primer, and I'm applying a little bit of Laying Low Paint Pot onto her eyelids just with a kind of fluffy dense brush, well, soft-ish brush. Those are contradictory, but I'm applying it with a really big fluffy brush. And in this video, you'll see me getting so annoyed because she keeps like turning towards me instead of facing the camera. And I'm just like, Mom, God, don't you know how YouTube works? But anyway, so I'm applying this a little bit into her brows as well. And then I'm taking a little bit of translucent powder just with a really big face brush I'll be using later on and setting her eyelids. Then I am applying a little bit of color corrector because if you can see, she has a little bit of acne scarring. So I'm applying the same orange corrector that I use from MAC. It's like a peach luster highlighter. I'm applying that in any areas that have hyperpigmentation, and that's just going to really help neutralize the color so that when I actually do apply foundation over top, it'll really help make an even base. So I apply that. Then I'm going to go in with the same brush I used with the primer. I just wiped it off a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of blend all of the corrector in by just dabbing it. So I'm not swiping or anything. I'm just dabbing it to keep the color where I want it and not spreading it around so she's not completely orange and there's not corrector where there doesn't need to be corrector, because that would be counterintuitive. Now I'm just taking Chamois Nude, my favorite brow bone highlighting shade, and I'm going to be applying this onto her brow bone, down to her crease, and into the inner corner. And I'm just using a pretty fluffy brush to apply that. And I'm making sure it's nice and even. Then I'm going to go in with a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to use a transition shade. In here, I'm just like explaining things to her. I'm like, she's like, what are you doing? What? Why are you not doing it to this eye? And I'm just like, Mom, just let it happen. Be cool. So now here I am applying that transition shade. And my mom has different eye shapes from me. So what I wanted to do was give her obviously a very like editorial, fierce cat eye makeup. And so I applied the transition shade a little bit higher on the inner corner close to her eyebrow, just to kind of elevate her natural eye shape. So I apply that, and then I go in with a really dark warm brown, or a darker warm brown, and I just emphasize that shape again. But I want to just create the illusion, so I'm not taking this very, very dark chocolate that I'm applying into the crease right now up into the brow bone as well, because we want to just make it look like her eye shape is naturally that way. So I'm applying the darkest brown I'll be using in this look into her crease, but I'm keeping it very low and using the brush that I use, the mid-tone brown in this look, to blend it out so that it looks, again, very natural and just like her eye is naturally shaded that way and shaped that way. So I'm going back and forth with the darkest brown and then the medium brown shade just to blend. And then I take the medium brown and I run it along the lash line. And then I take the darkest brown and run that along the lash line as well. So it's a lot of blending in this look. I wanted to give her a very glamorous, very, very full-on eye look, face look, everything, because my mom doesn't really do a whole lot on her own. So I was like, I'm gonna go all out. So here I am darkening up the lash line again and going into the crease with that darkest brown. So I'm just back and forth with those two shades to create the depth that I want in this look. So here I am going back in with that transition shade, and I'm just further blending the edges of that medium brown and kind of the whole outside of the eye look and kind of deepening up that shade. And once I've blended it, I noticed that I did want it to be a little bit deeper into the crease, so I add even more of that darkest brown shade and blend it out. And here she is like, ooh, this is like how they do it in the magazines. And I'm like, yeah, Mom. So then I go in with a little bit more of that mid-tone brown shade and darken up the outer corner. And now I have a mixture of an eyeliner mixing medium and tan pigment from MAC. And I'm doing a kind of like half cut crease shade. And this is again going to really emphasize the kind of new eye shading that I've done for her and show kind of like a contrast between the very blown out crease but this very structured kind of cut lid situation. And I love this shade and it works really well with her coloring. So I'm applying that, and as it's drying I use a little bit of that mid-tone brown just to blend the edge. So I did the foundation off camera just because I was literally covering the camera lens the entire time, so I had to end up cutting it. But now I'm doing a little bit of cream bronzer. Yep, we going all out, cream bronzer and cream contouring all the way. So this is going to create a little bit more shape to her face because I did use a pretty full coverage foundation, so it kind of took away that dimension that she has naturally. So I'm just putting it back in with a little duo fiber brush and a little bit of this cream bronzer from NYX, and she was baking some faces, yo. Some faces. All the time, that's her. But I'm applying that. Then I go in and blend it out with the sponge that I used with her foundation just to kind of melt that into her skin and make it look like one. And because this bronzer is not like a foundation or anything, it does kind of lessen the coverage if you start blending it a lot. So I'm going to go back in a little bit later and recover some of the areas that I've uncovered. That makes sense. So now I'm going in with just the highlighter from that shade. So it's not like a highlighter, like a cheekbone highlighter. It's just a lighter shade of really light cream, and that's going to add even more dimension to her face. So you can obviously use like a lighter concealer to highlight your face, but I'm using a cream that's designed just to highlight. It doesn't have any coverage or anything. So I'm doing that first and blending it with the sponge. Then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of a lighter concealer. And she's just like, ooh, feeling herself at this point. I'm just like, okay, Mom, come on, let's get it together. We got to get through this. You have places to be. So here I am applying a little bit of concealer, and this is going to add the coverage that I'm looking for, but it's obviously, you know, not as bright as the other shade. So this is going to be kind of a happy medium. It's going to highlight, but I'm still going to get the coverage that I want. So I'm blending that in with my sponge again. This sponge is damp, by the way. And so I'm going underneath the eyes, down the bridge of the nose, being careful on the nose since I've already cream contoured there. And then I'm blending, you know, under the nose, above the lip, and like all over her mouth. And she just thought that was so hilarious because I'm funny, I know. Anyway, so then I am going to set with some translucent powder. And so I'm just applying that all over her face because my mom does have pretty oily skin. So I am applying a lot of powder. So I'm baking basically all over her face. And she's like, this is a lot of powder. She was kind of freaking out. I was like, it'll be okay. It's going to be all right. Trust me. So while her eyeliner was baking, I was just touching up the eyeliner. What? While her powder was baking and her face was baking, I touched up the eyeliner. And now I'm going to do the brows again while the powder is baking and setting into her skin. So I'm using that eyebrow pencil, the little duo that I used in my last video on her, because it's pretty awesome. And I actually got her one of these. So I'm filling in her brows. So my mom has a pretty nice eyebrow shape already. I just want them to be a little bit more bold, considering that the makeup is so heavy. I want her eyebrows to kind of carry the structure of her face. So I'm just kind of filling in the shape and bulking them up. And I clean up with a little bit of concealer, like very little, and then I just go in with a little bit of eyebrow powder, just in the areas that are still a little bit sparse, because I didn't want to cake her eyebrow up with eyebrow pencil. So this was the brow I was going for, and then I just use a little bit of brow gel, set them into place, because we don't want them hairs going anywhere. No Drake brows around here. So now I'm using a powder brush, and I am dusting away all of that bake, and I'm taking now some powder bronzer. So full out cream and powder, bronzing, highlighting, all that good stuff. This is the dark chocolate Soleil. So then I'm using this same dark chocolate Soleil to contour her nose and give it more shape. And then I'm going to be applying highlighter. I'm using the Anastasia Glow Kit, the one I always use. And I go back over some spots that were uncovered that I mentioned before. And I just go in, and this is a cream concealer, so it sits really well over top of areas that you've already powdered, and I'm just patting that in with this concealer brush. Pat, 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 all over the place. And she was like falling asleep because my mom, oh my God, she can't. Come on, let's get it together. She's like, I'm going. I just see her face, she's getting annoyed with me. Anyway, so now I am doing the highlighting I was talking about with the Anastasia Glow Kit. And if you can see powder on her chin, that was because I set over that cream concealer again. So I applied a little bit of blush to her cheeks, and then I applied her lip color while we were on set, and that's pretty much the look complete. If you enjoyed it, please do give me a thumbs up and show her some love. I'll leave all of her social media down below as well as mine, and I thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, bye.